recording. Charles, let me get him back in here. Good evening. Hello, hello. What is today? Today is April 22nd, 2023. All right, what we are talking about, and I think what the title I put on this was pluck your eye out and cut your hand off. I don't know if that's what I called it. It was something like that. And I want to say congratulations to Melissa. We'll talk about that later, though. That's wonderful. Wow, my brain works better now. That's amazing. Yeah, okay, you totally just sidetracked me. Congratulations. That's amazing. That's very cool. Okay, so I had a conversation earlier today, and the scripture was brought up, and I just want to read it to you, what it actually says in any text that you look at, pretty much. And this is, I want to say that this is King James Version. Here we are. And the verse is, oh, no way. I clicked on it and I lost it. Let me go backwards. It's Matthew 18, verse 9. All right, it's not going to let me click on it. Basically, what it says is, if your eye offends you, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than having two and be cast into the fires of hell. And then there's one version that also says the same thing about your hand. Apparently, this is in different areas. It's Matthew 18:9, Mark 9:47. And then there's all kinds of interpretations of what it means. Where's the one part about your hand? If your hand causes you trouble, cut it off and throw it from you, or it says something to that effect. And I'm not getting that perfect because now I can't find the right verse. But anyway, all of you have probably heard that at some point. If your eye offends you, or if you're looking at things, that's how they used to decipher it. If you're looking at things that are offensive, if you can't keep your eyes under control, pluck them out and throw them away from you, kind of idea. And I've heard this before, that obviously, right, the terminology isn't correct. The translations aren't correct. So the way that was translated, we got the word eye. So pluck your eye out, cast your hand from you, to cut your hand off. And the word eye, if you take it back into, and I think it's actually a Jewish idiom, I think it's a Hebrew idiom, it translates better as family, the word I, right? So it's more like, if your family offends you, cast them away, which I find amusing because that's happened in my family quite a bit. And then for your hand, the idiom, the better translation of the idiom would have been your friends, right? So people around you, people that are nearby you. Now, if you look at the verse, there's just all kinds of things that I would be pointing out. We were taught wrongly. It's better for you to enter life with one eye than two, and be thrown into the fires of hell. One version talks about if it causes you to sin. Right. And then we know that the word sin, the way we were taught it, what that means isn't what the actual translation was. Sin was just like going astray, or doing something that wasn't quite right within your little circle of life. And then the word hell also, right, translated incorrectly, is the word is actually Gehenna. That one actually I still remember. And it meant the rubbish tip of the area, right? So it's where people threw their trash and then they burned the trash, which is where the idea apparently came from. Okay, so what we're focusing on here is, if you're offended by what you see, right, pluck your eye out. But it doesn't mean your physical eyes, it means your family. And it doesn't mean your hand, it means your friends, right? So it's the idea of cleaning up your your energetic area around you. It's the idea of cleaning up the place that you work as far as energy goes, your home life as far as energy goes. My computer keeps trying to die. Let me get this right here. So set that aside for just a second, that whole concept. And then what we're looking at, I think what we're looking for is how that all works with the idea that we're all one, right? We're all one energy. We're all one purpose here on this earth. The idea of entanglement theory, right, comes into play here. So the question is kind of, how does that all work together? And then the bigger question, I think, is how do you do it? How do you actually get yourself into a position where you can recognize all of this as one, and you're okay throwing away the pieces that offend you, right? Moving out of the I think my internet's going crazy here. Moving out of the way of the stuff, the energy of people that doesn't help your path or help your growth. So how does it work together? How can we have all this negative energy around us and yet it's all still one thing? And I'm going to open the floor up for anybody who has any commentary on this. I can give you my thoughts on it. But anybody, and I think Miss Suzanne, I don't know if she can get on the line right now or not, but I know she had some thoughts on it before. How can we all be one, and yet we're told it's okay to cast away the bad parts? What do you think? I hear a lot of people thinking. Go ahead, Charles.
My experience, in the beginning of when I was younger, I'm more like casting things away, right? Focus on the positive, just block away the negative or get away, right? But the last few years when I learned a lot about spirituality, I realized that I can use it as the tools to help me grow better. The contrast, instead of casting away, I learned to accept it, work with it, and find a way that to work together for whatever the vision I want to create, instead of shun myself away, right? Because I know the tendency is, I look at part of me, especially like the one that acts up, for example, like I was missing marriage. We call it connection in my relationship. So I didn't get that. So what I did, I looked for outside, outside relationship, right? That's called cheating, right? And it's our integrity, but it's on the positive side, it's fulfilling my need, but it act up, right? So looking back, instead of shunning and go, you're not supposed to cheat and condemn that part, I learned, okay, what is the positive thing? What do I really want? What do I really need? And embrace that, and then learn to work together. Okay, I know what I need now. I just have to work or find the people that love to have intimacy with me on the spiritual and emotional and physical level, instead stay in a marriage or stay with somebody that don't want to, And so instead of shunning myself away, because a big part of me was, oh yeah, you're a bad father, you're a bad husband, you broke the rules and all this stuff. But when I do a lot of healing, I learned to embrace that. I go, oh, I know why you cheated. I know, because you get neglected and you act up, and so that's the only way for you to fulfill your need, because you're not, because you trying to fulfill your need with your wife, but your wife doesn't want to, and then what? So learning to work with the negative different aspect and embrace that to become whole, right? Because healing is about whole. To bring together and as a whole. And if that's the case, then embrace the negative side and see what is teaching you, So you can work together. So that's kind of like my take on it.
I like it. Thank you for sharing that. Who else opened their microphone? I think Suzanne. Very good. And I don't know that I don't think there's any right or wrong answers here. So be very open-minded, be very, very open to what you hear. And I want to remind you too, I just found the part of this verse I missed. What we were talking about is the verse that says, if it causes you to stumble, gouge it out, right? We're talking about the eyes, and the eyes actually meant family. If it causes you to stumble, gouge it out, throw it away. It's better for you to enter life with one eye than to have two and be thrown into the fiery hell. And the next part says, if your hand or foot causes you to sin, and we know the word sin is mistranslated also, but cut it off, throw it away. It's better for you to enter life crippled and lame than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and to be thrown into the fiery hell, right? So it's that kind of idea of how can we be able to throw these things away? And the idiom was that it meant family and friends. How can you throw these things away and we still be one wholeness? And I do like the idea of just work with it because that's very important. Miss Suzanne, can I get you back in here?
Okay, so my experience was it's connected, I think, somehow. So, you know, me and my 2 sisters have recently been going through this purchase agreement to get the parents' house sold, and we are all like worlds away on what we think, and for different and valid reasons. But what was interesting is that one of the 3 of us she's physically not well, and I think that makes it harder for it makes it harder to stay aware. It's harder to hold your awareness when you're not feeling well in the body. And then but I've been talking with the older one, and she's a little bit better off. But now all of a sudden it's just been so interesting to watch. Then she went sideways, like this last week on the last iteration of a counter offer. And then what's funny is this last counter offer, I lost it over the phone. Like I was the one yelling. And I just talked back with her today, and she's like, dude, as long as I've ever known you since we were kids, you've never spoken to me that way. She says, do you know what you said? And I was like, you know what? I actually don't even remember what I said. I just knew I was yelling, and I'm like, what happened? And I was like, okay, clearly I knew that I had fallen out of awareness, out of, I wasn't aware because I can't even remember it. And I'm like, what took hold of me? Like, what happened? And one of the things that I had been telling back to her was, I said, this is what I keep saying though. It's like, if you're not feeling well or something's going on for whatever reason, we're all subject to falling into that, where you're going to offend somebody else because you're not being able to stay in your ground. And so I was like, and it's harder for the younger one, I think, because she's not physically feeling well. And what caught my attention was, I was like, is this, to me, what I've been seeing is that this is what I would almost call demonic. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's that we're just picking up those signals somehow, or they're getting transmitted and they're not harmonious with us. And then all of a sudden, if we fall out enough, then it's like, boom. And then all of a sudden you're the one yelling and you're like, hey, wait a minute, and so it's really interesting what you're suggesting, because you're connected. So what I told the oldest one, I said, I said, don't fall for the story. Don't fall for the story that she's anything other than beautiful, a beautiful being, and anything outside of God is just, anything outside of that divine would be considered sin or out of harmony. And so it's that whole thing of like when you were holding things in the periphery, Christy,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, okay, so, you know, it's just having the ability to see. And I think it's friends and families, because those are the ones that can push our buttons the most, because they
Yeah.
know us so well.
Yep. Very good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that insight. Yeah, it's interesting, I think, when you start really looking at things. Did Jill open her microphone?
I did.
Miss Jill, go right ahead.
So this is a fascinating conversation. Thank you for facilitating it. And I'm interested for sure to hear what you have to say on this. I love, what is being brought up about this. And super quick, I've experienced this in my own life in multiple ways, and in the sense that I think what you guys are talking about is kind of helping me to put together, because I did choose to step away from my family for a long period of time. And I think what I'm sensing, feeling is that, and I know this to be true, and this is part of the reason I stepped away, was that I was not myself around my family, and I knew it, right? And so I played whatever role, and I know that that's true, but they affected me in the sense that that wasn't me. They gave me this role to play. But I think that is we're all one. And as a unit, they completely affected who I was. And I didn't like that person. And so I chose to step away for that reason until I could be strong enough. And now I go back in spurts, right? But I have to be strong enough in order to do that. And like what Suzanne is saying, and some things I've learned today, which is just really interesting and cool. My health was definitely affected by my family, and that also does affect how strong I am and my response back. So that's what I'm taking from what you guys are talking about and my experience.
Thank you for sharing that. That was quite wonderful also. And all of those things, right? How do you put all of those together? So let me give you a little bit about what I'm thinking, because, and then I'm going to ask Shamina to jump in here, because I can hear her brain running 1,000 miles a minute. Figure it out. So, I mean, there's a path, right? We're all on this journey, supposedly, trying to figure all this stuff out. And wherever you're at in the journey is wherever you're at. So all these different places that people lined out, you can be, working with the negative, which I think there's some benefit to, because it gives you perspective. You can recognize you're falling in and out of your awareness. Totally frustrated with that and trying to figure out how to stay in there. Sue's mentioned, maybe it's demonic. I would have to suggest the possibility that that's relatively correct. On top of understanding the electromagnetic field of our universe is falling apart, of our Earth, right? Experience is definitely not what it was even 6 months ago. So, and falling apart might not be the right word, but it also might not be the wrong word. There are volcanic eruptions going on all over the planet, and we are underneath the mess from that, and earthquakes. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff is just going on right now. So, and then whatever is going on the sun or with the sun is definitely affecting us, right? So you get hit by an electromagnetic or a plasma shock wave from either the earth or something inbound from the sun, and all of a sudden you find yourself screaming at people or walking around crying or whatever, you're just like lost, right? Recognize it's not you. Like, you literally have to recognize, right? So if you're focusing on that, your focus is not internal. Your focus is not with the I am. And this is like the simplest I have been able, and this was with the help of Grandmaster Wolf, that I have been able to bring it down to, is if you are focusing anywhere that is causing you disruption. You are not your I am self. You are not the 100% you, right? You're not the real you. You're not the, whatever word you want to use for that. And as the world falls apart, as the world falls back together, right? However you're looking at this point, if you are focusing outside of your own I am self, out of your own spirit, you're going to get caught up. You're going to get caught up in whatever it is that you're either feeling, sensing, noticing, participating in, right? Whatever, whether it's family, friends, society around you, whatever it is. So you have to stay with that internal focus. And I think it was Suzanne said something that was, I forget the words you used, I apologize for that, but about seeing people, and what I wrote down was see them as light, right? If you see them as light, you don't have to participate with the nonsense. If you can't see them as light, keep seeing yourself as light. Don't participate with the nonsense, which would go back to the verse in Matthew, cut it off and throw it away. I can't keep participating with myself as light if there's something interjecting into my energy field and interjecting into my spiritual experience that is knocking me down, knocking me off kilter, right? And that falls right in. You guys were like, boom, 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 lined up perfectly, falls right into what Jill was talking about. I had to walk away from them, right? Me and my family, the same thing. We had to go our own directions because we were just in such different places, I'm guessing, consciously or cosmically or however you want to call it. We are not in the same experience on this planet right now, right? My brothers are in one experience, my dad is in another experience, I'm in another experience, and I just can't do the energy of all of us. So I walked away, right? My mother was definitely in a different experience, and now she's even a different experience again because she passed. But sometimes you don't have to deal with any of that stuff. And I would have to suggest, I take that back. Sometimes you don't have to. That is incorrect. You never have to, ever, if your focus is on your God self. Because that stuff isn't what you're here for. That stuff molds you to make you look back internally. Because if I keep paying attention to it and I keep witnessing it, and I keep letting it right tear me apart and drag me down, then there I am. Jill had said something about how, you know, her family was affecting her and it made her sick. 100% of the time. I think that's where most illness starts, is with at a childhood age, your family's interjection. And then you take those neuropeptides, you take those, that hormonal base becomes your kind of homeostasis. And then I grow up with that homeostasis, that concoction of chemicals and hormones in my body, thinking that's normal. And I never feel good. And it does tear your body apart, right? We know that the chemicals and hormones of stress literally will start pulling your organs apart, and it will make you sick, right? The concept of sick. And then you add into it all the poisons and all the rest of the junk that's going on around us. So a good litmus test, based on what Jill said, was when they affect you, you are not yourself. That's how you know. I am not here if I'm being affected. I'm out here somewhere paying attention or participating. So I have to come back here. And then when I come back here, what happens? And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, found myself. Now the question is, how do you stay there? How do you get yourself to a place where you don't ever have to leave that place? What do you think? Sue says we take family peptides on as our identity when it's not. Yeah, absolutely. Nothing is your identity about this meat suit that you're wearing. Nothing. This is not you. right? The suit was given to you to wear while you're on this planet in this iteration of life. But it is not you. Am I recording this? This is good. This isn't Christy talking, by the way. A lot of this is spirit talking. Right? So when you really fully comprehend this, it literally just keeps driving you back to home, keeps driving you back into your spirit state. Because the family peptides, that's a really funny way to put it. They are definitely not you. None of this is you. It's all about coming back to that internal state that you are. Right? The spiritual journey, we like to call it, our spiritual walk. Can you be there all the time, right? So then it takes the practice. If the sun explodes, has an explosion, right, and sends a bunch of plasma our way that's, radioactive and whatever, and it kind of topples you sideways, which it's been doing a lot lately. That has been going on a ton. What do? That's where the practice of staying inside yourself. I mean, the idea of meditating and sitting down and meditating for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 hours, whatever the old concept was. Awesome idea. Many people told themselves over and over, I can't do it. That's too hard. Whatever. I can't get there. I can't feel it. I can't find it. Whatever that is. Now it's the concept that you have to be able to walk around with your eyes open and do it. We are not in that same place anymore. Right? So get yourself there, feel it, find it. We'll play with this in a second. Use all the different techniques, the hand swipes to get you into a different brainwave state, rolling your eyes up above horizon line, whatever you can use to change and alter your brainwave state and get your awareness into your heart space, and then remain. Even if it's only for 10 seconds, pat yourself on the back. Feel it, remember the feeling, and then keep coming back to that feeling, right? It becomes a habitual practice. Who has their microphone open? Miss Shamina, go for
it. So I've been contemplating about this a lot, for especially this past week. And I was laughing last night because it's kind of that analogy of the alcoholic that is recovering alcoholic, but still goes to the bar every day, and eventually starts drinking again because they're in the same place with the same people and the same friends. And it's habitual, right? It's familiar, it's comfortable, and they don't want to change their habits, even though they want something different internally. They want to be healthier and better. But I was laughing because I'm like, I'm the alcoholic that's even walking in the grocery store down the beer and wine spirits area. I don't drink at all, but I think it's just funny. It's like, I feel like it's
good analogy.
It's all around us. Like, there's no way to not have these. And I think of it as energy, like you said, as frequencies, and my family, I have not been in contact with them, and I'm one of 8 children. So that's a lot of family. I haven't been in contact with any of them really at all for years now, because anytime I go back into the bar, I become the raging alcoholic again, and I just can't seem to stay there. So it's that in that scripture, what the thing that comes next is he says about the parable of being the light, I want to say, or you cannot serve 2 masters. You need to be the light. Like, you have to choose one or the other. Like, what am I serving? Am I serving my spirit, or am I serving somebody else's needs? And I think especially with family and friends, longtime friends, I think that's why that comes up. I feel because they're the ones that have these memories. They have the memories of who you were when you were 2 years old, when you were 5 years old, when you were 10, what you did when you were 16, and all the stupid mistakes you made, and love to just hang those over you and say, remember when you did that? Ha, ha, ha. And it's like, can you not recognize that I'm not that person? Can you not give that to me, that I know you're different, and things have changed. Time has passed. People can change. People have that opportunity to be greater. For me, that's the hardest part, is that I can emulate this so intensely. I can get there, and then I get around my family, and it's like they completely ignore it. They don't even want to see it. They want to be completely blind to it. And it's unnerving. So as you were talking, Spirit was telling me to turn into the I am discourses, and there was this part that came up. If it's okay, I just read a little bit of it because it fits right in.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, let's see, it seems to me that it has not been clearly understood that when you use the expression, I am the presence in my mind, home, and world, you are not only commanding the conquering presence of this activity through your own consciousness, but you are calling forth the assistance of the I am or God presence into your home and world and whomever contacts it. This is so vital for the student to understand. Do not be discouraged if you do not see immediate manifestation of this harmony, which you desire, but go right on feeling the conquering I am presence. Do you not see that in this consciousness, there is no other presence to act except what you are conscious of? All other activity of the outer, which is undesirable, is but a distorted activity and use of the mighty energy. Therefore, when you say, I am the conquering presence, I command this I am presence to govern perfectly my mind, home, affairs, and world. You have sent forth the greatest decree possible to be given, and you have but to feel the sustaining power of this in the face of every appearance until you find perfection manifest in your mind, home, and world. Thank you, Spirit, for showing us that, right? So
Which discourse are you in?
I'm on discourse, Roman numerals. I want to say that's discourse 19. It's on page 186.
Just so everybody knows if they want to go back and find it.
Right. So the statement again, if you guys want to write it down. I am the conquering presence.
Sue's asking in the chat box, distorted of what? Did you say the word distorted? Please
Yeah.
repeat that section. Can you repeat that part?
Sure. All other activity of the outer, which is undesirable, is but a distorted activity and use of the mighty energy. And so that's that sentence right there. Thanks for putting that out, Sue, because that's exactly it. I feel like these are energy vampire suckers, and I only had like the I am presence can give me all the energy that I want. It passes through us, right? This is the meat suit. We are the spirit. It continually goes, but it's such a pull, and like how you said, the stress on the organs, right? It literally pulls us apart. It pulls our organs apart because it's pulling our spirits apart. It's pulling who we are apart from our truth, and we can't. That's why the next part that he says, you cannot serve two masters. You can't say that I am the light and then live a completely something totally different. It pulls you apart. They're contradictory. So I'm just trying to stay on that and the I am the conquering presence and all of this, because I feel like now, I'm trying to raise that energy, but we can focus in here. The world's still going crazy and everything else is going crazy, but I want to keep that energy as high as I can, so that no matter what happens, no matter who comes in my field, no matter what chaos the world goes into or is repairing itself into, hopefully repairing, that I can still stay at peace.
I had choking fit. I think that's exactly it. All right, that whole thing about the distortion. Oh my goodness, right? That's a participation with the outer stuff that when you take that in, it will throw you off 100% of the time. And it is better, right? That's what the scripture says. It's better to pluck it out and throw it away, right? They have to deal with themselves. They have to eventually figure themselves out. And if you still keep trying to ruminate through it and figure it out, help it let you grow, at some point you're going to realize that you will grow faster without it. And it's the most amazing freedom when you can just be like, I can walk away. It's amazing. Jill, did you unmute yourself?
I did, yeah. So I'm loving this conversation. This is just absolutely amazing. And I love as well that the idea of the distortion. And it's funny because I look distorted right now.
But it's wonderful.
um, so I've been encountering this thought, but I've been thinking of it more as like what Shamina brought up, that calling it distorted. I've been thinking of it as unreal, and that has been more of a challenge to wrap my brain around. But this idea that everything other than spirit is a distortion really resonates, and the idea that it distorts our bodies, like that super resonates. I also just wanted to bring something else up. It's the same thing, but Shamina was describing this as an example within her family. And I want to point out that this is, and I know she knows this too, and everybody does, but it's rampant in our society too, right? As far as the people that operating differently. So I found it really fascinating. I was still looking for a place to live, and I went to go look at somebody's rental, and this guy expressed interest in me, and basically he then wanted to take me out for a date, blah blah blah. And basically I said, look, I don't date. Like, I'm happy to be your friend, and if at some point down the road, right, then we decide, great, but I would rather build a friendship. And so he says, oh yeah, great. And so he goes to this festival with me. Well, the next day he then basically sends me this text trying to get me to date him. And I said, I'm really struggling with the fact that you're trying to convince me to do something I told you I don't do. And so it was really interesting, because he then wanted to know if I had any friends that might be interested. I was like, what? So it's seriously fascinating to me. Like, society has no idea what to do with you if you operate differently, right? And it's to walk in light and to be something other, they have no idea. And I think it's fascinating, but also this is our challenge, right? Because I could get caught up in all that, and I was, for one day I was caught up in sad at society and blah blah blah, and then I realized, oh crap, that totally just took me out of being where I wanted to be, even though I had said no to dating. So
I always wonder, in situations when stuff arises, and I'm just listening to you talk, and I'm playing around in my head with it because it just amuses me. What happens if you happen to have reacted and you just stood there projecting love? It really confuses people. You're right? They're confused anyway, and it confuses them even more. But if you just stand there, and I play with this in my circle all the time, and I just project, either I'm projecting light or I'm working on projecting light because they're coming at me, and I'm like, okay, I gotta strengthen my energy bubble. Just working on creating energy. And it usually for me, it drives people away. They usually end up kind of taking off.
And do you do that when people are part of the communication is over text as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, anything, right? Because none of that's space and time are just relative to our own construct. So yeah, any of that stuff. Somebody standing in front of you, somebody on the phone, somebody potential people who might show up because you're sending documents to their offices that you're ooh. Yeah, I'm constantly projecting light to stuff like that. Right. And I'm sending a lot of weird documents right now that I'm oh no, what am I doing? But send light, right? And I'm visualizing the people who are responding to me as light. Outside of their, I'm only trying to see their spirit. That's all I'm trying to see. You can do whatever you do your normal thing. My son's doing his normal thing. My husband's doing his normal thing. And I'm just trying to see you as light. Where's the, right? And it does shake people up. It can get them, but I remain, because all I'm looking for is light. I'm not looking for the rest of it. You can go do your thing. You're stuck in your little world. You're stuck in whatever you're stuck in, but you just need to, right?
Can I
and
ask,
stay in
like,
the light.
in what sense are you only looking for light? Like, you're only looking for light, like, from someone else, like, or within you, or
Both.
both?
Both,
Okay, okay.
always, yeah.
Okay.
Because if you lose sense of your own light, that's when you get pulled out. That's what the feeling of pulled out is I've lost my sense of my light. The light doesn't go away. It never leaves you. It's always there, right? You just lost the sense of it. Yeah. And Charles has his hand up. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, you were asking well, how do we keep, in that space, right? And I realized something, it's like anything is like, how do you build your muscle, you know? I know in the beginning, I react a lot, and what you taught me is, okay, for every hour, reset myself, get myself in center, right? And to become a habit. So I've been doing that a lot, and it does help. So it's a lot about exercising and condition. Doesn't mean that we're perfect. You're dealing with family, you're dealing with people that have a strong anchor of what they think who you are or this year. And then when you interact with them, they keep reminding you, right? And then we get triggered, I get triggered. And I think the key to it is that when I get triggered, now I pay attention. I go, oh, I'm triggered now. What can I do differently, right? And sometimes you can't just switch on and off to light at that moment because maybe my muscle is not strong enough. But I realized that after that, I move away and then I do the session of releasing, right? That's help. And then come back and ask myself, okay, how do I do differently? So now when I come back, I actually do differently and it actually worked. So instead of reacting, I realize, I go, what does people really need from me that they, arguing?
I'm going to stop you right there because if you don't go there, if you go there, what do they need from me? Who cares? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but who cares? What do you need from you? In that situation, what is your spirit trying to show you? Because if I start worrying about what they need from me, that's what gives them permission to suck my energy out. Does that make sense? So if I'm staying totally in the light and I'm trying to stay in the mind of my spirit and my own, I don't participate with what they need from me. And this is like progression of consciousness too. You'll get to a place eventually. Everybody will get to a place where you're just like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't know what you need from me. I don't care what you need from me.
Oh, I have to rephrase that. It's not, I rephrase that. I'm asking like, what do they need? So I can have a certain perspective. But I realize that I can't.
I literally would never ask that question, but continue your thought.
So, but the whole point I realized that doesn't matter what I do, even though I do in the best intention and everything, there's still gonna be something negative. And I realize, I go, I have no control of that. So why should I even participate in that? I go, I'm gonna do the best I can. And if they don't like it, it's not my problem,
Yeah. And that's exactly, it's not your problem. And that's exactly, I think, where the scripture that we came up with initially says, cut it off and cast it away. Because they'll keep doing that, right? The people who know you the deepest and think and aren't changing with you, they will consistently remind you of what you were and what you're not. And they don't understand, right, the place that you come to. So I don't know. The next thing I would do, and this is just kind of a sideline, the next thing I would do to progress yourself into a place of staying there is always recognize, and this can be one of the greatest games, like you have to literally start it in the morning and then pay so much attention to everything that comes out of your mouth in word form and everything in your head in thought form. Pay attention to every time you say the word I am, or my. pay so much attention to that, and then recognize what you're actually talking about. Because you're not talking about this. You're talking, every time you say those words, if you are conscious of it, you are invoking the I am presence. And every time you say it, you have to engage with the power of it. And whether you say it from a negative standpoint, right, or a positive stand, you get the negative or the positive, the energy is going to come to you. So you have to start paying a ton of attention to that.
Yes, well, so when I pay attention to that and watch my thoughts and take care of myself, I go, oh my God, I have beautiful soul, right? I have wisdom and intention. I go, what do people think about? If only they know, I mean, I'm so beautiful, right? But then one of these days that everything off and then throw you way off, and then you have to get back and pay attention. What am I keeps telling in my head, myself, right? And then you're right, it's really critical on that part.
Yeah, and if you ever let people back into the place, and I don't mean push everybody out. I don't mean that at all. But when you let people in and you start wondering what they think, what they want, what they need, it will throw you sideways. Because that's not what you're here for. If you stay totally centered, you will be the Grand Master. You will be the Ascendant. There's nothing else that can happen. Right? But it's the ability to not worry about what they have their own journey. They have to do this for themselves. When they start figuring it out, then you probably can have a decent relationship. But until they can start figuring it out, it'll be a constant struggle. Or you'll find a place where you can just sit back in your home and watch everybody as their light struggling with their own outer world, because you'll literally see them that way. You see their light, but you see them struggling with their own outer world. And it's like, I'm okay to let you do that, but I'm not going to play. I don't have to anymore. Yeah. Anybody else? What are we thinking? Oh, we got all kinds of microphones.
So I was going to say really quick, because we're talking about worries. Worry is like the rocking chair. I'm sure you guys have heard that analogy. It gives you something to do, but gets you nowhere. And I find myself when I'm chewing on that stuff, because my underlining tone of what I was taught and picked up as a child in an abusive home was that I needed to fix everything and everyone. Like, and once I figured that out, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to fix everything. And that's why my brain goes 20 miles a minute. And that's why I can, when Christy first started seeing me, how many years ago, it was always like this over analyzing of everything. Right. But that's not who I am. And as soon as I find myself chewing on that or sitting on the rocking chair, chewing on my stick or whatever it is, fixating on stuff. And I'm like, wait a second, wait, this is not mine. This is not mine. This is not who I am. This is not my problem, not my issue. Stand up, out of the rocking chair we go. There we go. And just throw it to the side. It's just the recognition. It's that curious observer over and over again, right?
Yeah. And I can tell you, this is a fun one. You guys can play with this too. I've started telling, and I started a bit ago, but every morning, remind your spirit to tell you who you are. Remind me, like when that starts, when I'm chewing on the stick or I'm in the rocking chair going nowhere, remind me who I am. And it's the craziest thing when all of a sudden from deep inside you, you hear words like, I am opulent radiance. And it didn't come out of your head. You're like, whoa. Oh yeah. And then it's just so much more powerful. So I ask my spirit, remind me who I am. So Suze, did I see you pop back in?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. God, this is just so wonderful what everybody's saying. It's like my head's just exploding. It's wonderful. So I'm reminded of Michael Singer. So circling back to the scripture you were talking about when they were saying, yet we're all connected. It's just like, well, okay, you're telling me to cut my hands off, cut off whatever's offending. And it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. That's exactly right. In Michael Singer's work, he's saying, when you have an interaction and it starts going sideways, it's because you're connected to that other person in some, we're all one, and it's pinging off of something that's in you, in your soul, whatever. And so, you know, to purge it out of your own self, out of your own being, is to go back. And not so much, Charles was headed that direction when he was saying, you know, remind myself I am beautiful, I am all these things. I would say go above that, go out of the whole dualistic place and just say, I am the source of the cosmos and all that's in it. You're beyond words at that point. And then you just sit there with that.
If you ask your spirit to remind you who you are, it'll blow you away what shows up. Because you're right, it's beyond. It is, you are point on. Yep. Take a breath. Anything else? What else are we thinking? Do you have any other little tricks you use? Any things you ask your spirit that helps you get through the day?
Okay, at the risk of embarrassing myself completely, I'll go ahead and share one other crazy thing that happened recently. So again, the younger one, I'm having, you know, and I'm choosing to do these interactions at this point, I should say, to Shamina's point. For a long time, I had to just get out of the room. I had to walk out, walk out. That's fine, no problem. When I'm only just now, and both my parents are dead at this point, I'm only just now being able to choose to engage, and only with one at a time, right? And but anyway, I was on a phone call with one of them, and it was going nuts. Like, so she called me, and the first thing I noticed when I saw the phone call coming in, everything in my center just tightened up in a ball and a knot. And I was like, no, the cosmos doesn't tighten in a ball at anything, doesn't matter. So I answer the phone. So she starts talking. She was actually calling to apologize. She got past that part, and then she went off into the story and all this stuff. So all I can tell you is this energy came up within my center. I muted her. Now I'm still listening to her talk, but I muted on my end, and I sat there and spoke out whatever spirit had me say. And it was just powerful. So I was like, no, I see God in you, and I'm not seeing anything else. This is what I choose. This is how. And I was doing this at the same time that she was blah, 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 her story. Probably not the nicest way to do it, but sometimes you just gotta get in there. And so
I think that's perfect. That's amazing.
But that's how, that was one of my recent, I was like, God, did I do that right? He's like, hey man, you did it. And I was so proud of myself.
Well, and I want to say to that, you can't do this wrong.
Right.
You will always get another chance. You will always have another opportunity. I think that's amazing, because while you're speaking these glorious words of seeing her as light, and you're only seeing light in her, you're sending her that energy.
I will say you're right about that, because what happened was several times during the conversation, she started coming aware. Like, she would lose her story, and she would be bumbling, and she'd have to figure out how to get back to the negative stuff. It was definitely pulling her into her ground. And that's what I told the older one just yesterday. I said, look, because of what's going to come down here in the next couple months, the whole point is, can you stay grounded? Can you stay in your Christ? Can you be there enough so that when anybody in your sphere starts going one way or the other, that you either have to just step over them and keep going, or they will be raised up as you're there.
Yeah.
Not getting pulled off into it.
I want to make a distinction on something you just said. You said two things that kind of contradict each other in the same: stay grounded, stay in your Christ. So understand what's going on in the realm right now. To stay grounded to most people means grounded to the planet. The planet's falling apart. The planet's having some serious issues. So somebody literally called me the other day very, what I consider, she's very powerful healer. She's amazing. And she was just like, I don't get it. She goes, I ground myself, and within not even hours, I'm just like all over the place again. And I just kind of sat for a second. I'm like, well, what are you grounding yourself to? Then she goes, well, like I always do, I'll, take my shoes off and walk outside and, do the whole thing into the center of the earth. And I'm like, oh. And what I heard was, and what I've been doing is, and this was the second part of what you said, stay in your Christ, ground yourself to that. Don't ground to the planet, ground yourself to your spirit. Ground yourself to the energy that created the planet instead of grounding to the planet. Because right now the energy is still the same. That will never change, but the planet itself is. So everybody who keeps yelling, ground yourself, right? Earthing, they call it all kinds of stuff. It's not working so good right now because the earth is, the mountains will fall down and the valleys will rise up. And that's kind of what's going on. So ground yourself to your spirit, ground yourself to the energy that made the planet. Does that make sense?
So when you talk about the spirit, and every morning I realize that the integration of the body, mind, and spirit, of taking care, that really helped, because I know that a couple of weeks ago compared to now, lately I've been really taking care of myself as well as watching my food intake and taking good supplement. I can tell a big difference how my vibration can stay on top versus when I didn't take care of myself. Even though consciously I go, hey, I want to be positive, I want to be grounded, but I don't have the energy, I don't feel like it. So now when I do that with the mind, body, and spirit, and pay attention to that and integrate that, I find out I'm a lot in better shape to deal with problem and to be aligned. I'm a lot more productive the past week more than all the other months.
Yeah, I like that. You do. You have to, if you eat poison, you're going to be poisoned. If you do things that you shouldn't be doing, it's going to cause everything to go off kilter. Very good. Jill is saying, Suze, I love that you said no to, no, the cosmos doesn't turn into a ball due to anything. So I'm not sure I understand that, but I think everything she said was empowering. I love you guys. You're amazing. Okay. The other thing I want to tell you, because this just showed up and I wrote it down real fast while they were saying it, was fear nothing. And this is stuff you've all heard before, but take this in because it goes exactly along with what we're talking about. Fear nothing. There is no darkness. Emphasized. There is no darkness. They create, so they're talking about the dark rulers over this world, right? The principalities and whatever. I heard all the words, but now I'm not remembering them. They create the darkness by cloaking the light. It's the only way they can create darkness is to cloak the light. I don't know how they do that, but that's what they're doing, right? They twist things, they turn it around, they use weird words. I don't know what all the stuff that goes on. They said, understand when you shine your light into the darkness, it seems like it's all right because it becomes uncloaked, because it's not real. Darkness is not real. It is a cloaked thing that they made, right? You could say Satan. You could say the cabal, the Illuminati, right? All the weirdness that's gone on. It's a cloaked, right? They're cloaking the light to look like darkness to put us into fear. There is only light. There is only light in that realm, right? If you're in this realm and you want to play with the duality, you want to play with the polarity, if you want to be in the yes, no, do, don't, dark, light, right, wrong, right, negative, positive, all of that stuff, then you're going to have to sort through all this stuff. But if you want to be in higher realms, you have to recognize Your light is the only light. That is the light, right? There is only light. There has always been only light. It's just hidden from you, right? It's been cloaked. To see it, you have to become light yourself. You have to have a sense of it to see it, right? As soon as you start becoming light, you will start noticing light. You will become more light because you notice light. Then the darkness will be gone. It can't remain. Darkness and light cannot be together. Now, you know what I know. So here we go. Be your light. Be your light self. Thank you.
However cheesy it is, that word namaste, I learned the meaning of it. The light in me sees the light in you. Like it just has a deeper meaning when you're talking about it, and it just keeps coming to mind as opposed to, I like simple, quick things that I can just resonate very quickly. I can see the light in you, which I do. I see the light in you. I appreciate you helping me see the light in myself.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I see the light in you also. I wouldn't have stuck around for so. I've told you that so many times. I keep getting told, just hang in, you're okay, hang in there. There's light coming. And you're surrounded with light. All of you are surrounded with light. It's so amazing to me. I'm just like blown away. I taught a class a while ago, I forget, maybe a couple years ago. And that was like kind of the theme of it. Every opening and every closing was, I witness myself as light, I witness you as light. I love myself, I love you. And it was always, Spirit was always saying, you first. I witness, because if I can't witness myself as light, I can't witness you as light. I love you, you have to love yourself first, right? I love myself, I love you. I witness myself, I witness you. And I think when you really understand that, and it is the whole concept of namaste, but if you break it down and have to do it that way for a while, break it down and do it that way. And you even said, and I thought it was funny because that's the way I felt when I first started doing that, but Spirit was so insistent on it, right? Namaste. Sounds cheesy, but it's not, right? Say it and feel it. Say it and feel it. I've got to where I metanoia people on Twitter all the time. So I'll still be saying whatever, and I'm like just writing metanoia. People are like, what? And finally somebody actually looked it up and they were like, you metanoia. And I'm like, all the time, baby. All the time. Open your mind, open your heart, right? Namaste, namaste. Try and say it to everybody. And if you have to say it, I witness myself as light, it just makes it even more powerful because then you really have to witness yourself as light. You guys are amazing. I have the chills. This is so true. So much resonation. Very cool.
Okay, I have another fun exercise. So I've been doing this too recently, every once in a while when I'm, thinking about it. What's really fun is walking around, say, okay, it's harder when it's people that trigger you, like family and all that, but to do practice. So to what you were just saying, the more that I witness my own self as light, I don't even have to worry about witnessing others as light, because that light becomes so big in myself, it just reaches out to everyone. It just pours, it overflows to the others. And so then you automatically see it. And so what's fun is, or to me it was fun, is when you're walking around. I usually can only do it on days where I'm like, for whatever reason, my energy is really high. So today was a good day for me. I went to go get tires. And so I said, I just want to see how much light that I can see myself as the cosmos, like just exploding from the inside out, like how much, and the more I did that, it's like I'm walking around and it's just so crazy how everybody around you and people who normally wouldn't even say anything to you, complete strangers, they'll find something to say. And like this one woman got out of her car. I was just walking by. She got out of her car and I had my groceries in my hand. She says, "Oh, did you leave me any?" And I went, "What kind of a comment is that?" And I thought, and Spirit told me, said, that's where she's at. So that's what, that's how she responded, because that's where she's at. But it's that the fact that she responded, she had to because of what you're doing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's an
Always.
exercise.
Cause and effect, right? Cause and effect. I worked with a shaman, I don't even know how many years ago, in the Black Hills area of Missouri, I think. And one of the exercises she had us do was we had to walk through like I think it was a farm store we were in, or like a Walmart or somewhere like that, but somewhere that had a lot of people in it. And it was the project the light, project the light. Like you had to really be the light, be the light, be the light. And it wasn't to just be the light. The exercise was to feel other people's energy. Like, can you tell when somebody's walking into if you're that much light and you've got that much energy going on, can you feel when somebody else is interjecting into your bubble? And I never quite understood what the point of that was, except that now people will get really close into my bubble and I don't even know if they're there. It like startles me. I'm just like, oh. But it is a great exercise. Like when you participate with just filling and I am, right? Saint Germain talks about it all the time. That energy belt around you, if you keep filling it with energy and filling it with energy, pretty soon, right? I mean, it does attract people, but pretty soon you're just going to have so much energy. That's all you're doing is projecting light. Who do we have on there? Jill, go ahead.
Oh, I love that exercise of somebody having you do that. It's a pressure gradient, right? So it's the, energy is going to flow, but you won't feel their energy because you are so full. I love that. It's awesome.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. But I think it's a good game to play, because if you are maintaining your energy, what else can you be? Right? You're just in your spirit self, because I am that energy. And you have to start recognizing, this is the other thing, it's a good awareness factor, is to start recognizing you are not this.
Yeah.
You are not the everyday problem. You are not the everyday thing. You are the I am energy. I've actually had the experience a number of times recently where it was like my I am presence was like almost like a periscope, like peeking up. Like I was seeing through my eyes, and then I was seeing through my spirit's eyes, and it was like this weird double screened. I was like, holy cow. But then I would be like, oh, I am this. And then I would only see what my spirit was seeing. I didn't have to see the rest of the junk going on.
I just want to comment. I really love that exercise also, because so many teachers, because I have often looked for, like, when working with clients, that sort of thing, how to not go into their energy or take on their energy or blah, blah, blah. And so many people teach clearing, and that's the exact opposite. And like, right, because if you're full of I am, right, like you wouldn't have to then clear. And when you clear, you have to be filling yourself with something, or you're just taking more on, right?
That's it, right? And we've taught that for years, right? Clear yourself, clear your energy, clear the demon.
Right.
How many are there? I even have one lady like, what are their names? I'm like, why would you want this stuff? Like, are you serious? But if you're solid light, what does light do? It chases away the darkness. Go into a dark closet and turn on a light and see where the darkness went. It cannot be in the same place at the same time. Physically impossible.
So I realized, as far as not only keeping myself light, when dealing with other people, especially I drive Uber during the weekend to supplement my income. So I meet all kind of people throughout the night, right? So I pay attention that first I keep myself with really positive energy, and because people can tell. And then second, I have strong intention, good intention for people, right? And when I have that intention, for some reason, when I'm connected to source and have that strong intention, somehow like I connect with people and somehow I help them and they go, oh my God, this is the best Uber ride I ever had. You should be like an Uber therapist and stuff, you know. So I realized that, wow, okay, what did I do? Oh, I have good positive intention for people. You know?
I
So it
want to,
helps me direct that my energy toward that.
I love you dearly, and I'm going to tell you totally different. Don't have good positive energy for any people. Be in your spirit self. That good positive energy comes from your spirit. If you're intentionally trying to do it, it's going to get all derailed and discombobulated. I would also tell you, I'm going to challenge every one of you to lose the word positive and lose the word negative. It will hold you in this polarity. Positive, negative, yes, no, right, wrong, do, don't, should, shouldn't, can, can't, will, won't, all of those words. If you can get rid of them and just be in your light, that will project what you're talking about as positive energy. And it could just be a misnomer in words. But the word positive, the second you say it, your brain goes looking for information on it, right? And then it's positive versus negative. I do this or I do this, right? So positive energy would be like the idea of higher energy, right? It'll give you a higher stasis and energy possibly. But if you don't use the word positive, what is it? It's a vibration, it's a frequency, right? It's light, it's your spirit self. If you choose those words, your brain literally has to go searching for information, and it has to put you into a higher state automatically, because now you're not going into the polarity of positive, negative, right? There's just certain words that will, and it's just by nature of what they are. So play, I mean, another game you can play with yourself, excuse me, is to get rid of words that are polarity based.
Yes, because when you say I am this, let's say I am love, I am neutral, I am peace, that raise whatever that level, that associate frequency to.
Yes. Yes, that's perfect. Amazing. Yeah. Especially the I am, right? I am before anything positive. What does it do to you? I am love. I am, what were the words you just now used? Right? Because now you're talking about the energy of the cosmos. I am is the energy that created all of this. And then you say love. It's like saying shrimp scampi, honestly. Right? Shrimp, shrimp. You're saying love, love. That's all there is. That's all there is. Yeah. Amazing. Sue says, yes, there's no language big enough to speak of I am. Language crimes out of I am. No other way around.
You know, I really like, this session because it's helped us have the little distinction that help give us clarity so we can, raise our vibration and have a really live a better life. I mean, what is little distinction from different people?
Yeah. I think it's important. I think it's super important because everybody's in different levels and in different places. And when you can hear somebody else talk about it, it changes perceptions, and it just helps you realize, if nothing else, that you're not in the boat alone. Right. And that was actually one of the things that started this, is how are we all one? How does that work? We're all the same I am presence. We're all the same energy. Yeah. Amazing. You guys are wonderful. Anybody have anything else? Thoughts, questions, concerns, ideas, points to ponder? I will ask you, is it okay that I stick this whole video onto YouTube and onto Brighteon so other people can see it? Because I think it would be really helpful for a lot of people. Cool. Cool, cool. All right, anybody else? I hear thinking and nobody's talking. Go ahead, Suze.
Okay, so what I was saying in the chat box is, again, when you sit there and you go, okay, I am, and just sit there and don't attach anything else to it yet, and just with the realization, the source of the cosmos and all that is within it, the source of the cosmos, y'all, come on, like you just start exploding because it's so amazing. And then if you know, again, it's a good day for me, so it doesn't go this great on other days, so I'll just say that. but when you realize, and you
Don't
go,
say
okay,
that. Don't
okay,
say that ever.
it's every day. So, but once you go, I am, and you have that realization, the source of the cosmos and all that is within it, that is what I am. And anything else that you would attach after that, you see immediately that any language, whether it's positive or negative, is just not going to be sufficient to encapsulate the I am. Why? Because the reverse is true. Language is something that comes out of the I am, because everything comes out of I am. It's not the other way around. So when you say I am, and if you attach something after it, it's fine as long as you're going, okay, the source of the cosmos and all that is in it, and you're realizing that word with that. But when you say the word and then you put a boundary on the cosmos, okay, you just put God in a box, right?
But here, let me throw this in, because there's going to be a lot of people who listen to this eventually and will be like, the human brain does not work that way. Right? Because we are caught in the polarity. Even though we're struggling to get out of it, we're caught in it. Right? If you can stop yourself from saying the polarizing words, it'll aid your growth. And if you're far enough along in your consciousness, it'll perpetuate you further and further, faster and faster, right? But if somebody, because in daily speech, we use I am all the time. People don't recognize that they're even saying it, but they're saying I am all kinds of stuff, or I'm going to, or I will be, or my, right? Same tense, or different tense, same thing. But if you tell them not to add any words after it, the negative words will keep coming, because that's where they are here. So you have to encourage the positive, right? Say I am shrimp scampi, say I am love. Even if it's repeating, right, the same thing, you're just going to raise your vibration. I love what you're saying, and I definitely love your enthusiasm. Holy cow, I can feel you all the way over here. But I think you have to start in a place, most people have to start in a place where they're recognizing I am, right? And you keep saying afterwards, I am is the energy of the cosmos. How do you get to that place where you can be that without standing outside of it? You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. If you could only say I am and stop all the time, it's the perfect solution. I am. There is nothing else. But most people can't. Most people are so stuck in the, right? And they're just not, we just haven't moved along. And I get there. I mean, I in and out all the time. Like, seriously, when does the swim get to stop? When can I just float and be the I am?
So I realized something regarding to I am, to be like, be really effective in a certain situation, for example. So I've been in this training in San Diego called Frontier Training. We do everything experiential, right? We participate, we sit there and lecture, right? So one of the things that the trainer make us do is that we dress up as different character, right? For example, sometimes we dress up as a fairy, a professor, and when we do that, we activate a certain energy and vibration, right? In order to be effective in whatever that situation is. So what we learn is to wear a different hat, because we are everything. And when we pull a certain, let's say I'm a rock star. When I say I'm a rock star, I pull in a certain energy of, oh yeah, I'm influenced, I impact the math, right? in order to influence whatever, make the best of myself in the situation. So when look at that, so he make us actually define, right? Define a character that we like or whatever. And we will actually create like the whole belief system and we call it story around that. So it anchor in. So when you activate that, when I come in, so we actually dress up like a rock star. And then we actually sing, and we do that. We totally activate another vibration in ourselves that's so influential. We like cool, we influence people listen. So it's kind of interesting how we can actually wear a different hat when we call upon I am.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can put on any hat you want to at that point, right? I'm actually looking for a video of this little girl. I saw it years ago. I don't even know if it's still on here. And she was standing in a mirror. Oh, there's too many of these on here now. Just like yelling at herself. I am strong. I am beautiful.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All the different hats you put on, because every one of those is like a different, I love that. It's absolutely right. But you got to remember to put the hat on. Be whatever energy you want.
So like when I go dancing, like ballroom dancing, for example, I put in a hat. I'm a world-class ballroom dancer, right? And I have a whole, we call it mindset and around that, right? I master my energy, my mood, right? I'm a great connector with people, and I really dance well and blending to create a positive vibe to the environment just because I say I am a world-class dancer. You know?
Everything that follows, the energy comes. Everything that follows. All right, you guys are amazing. I do have to go because my dinner's ready. What time are we at? 7:30. That went a little bit longer than I meant for it to, but hopefully that was helpful. Good, good. And what is today? Saturday. I'm playing with switching days around again because I took a job as a dairy. I'm a dairy manager at local Ridley's. I was called in and I'm just like, seriously? Why? Why am I in here? So until something changes, I'm doing that, and I have to work on Sundays. The source of the cosmos has to go to dinner. Isn't that so? Oh my goodness. And the source of the cosmos is now a dairy manager. So that's good. I am a dairy manager. That's my hat. But I do it really well. So that's kind of awesome. But I know I'm there for a reason. I'm just waiting for the reason to happen so I can move on. So we need to pick a different day. I don't know if Saturday night works better for people, or if, like, is there a day that works better? Saturday, Friday, Sunday's gotten kind of dicey for me. So, but think about it. Send me emails or text messages or whatever, and we'll go from there. I'm hungry. What are you cooking?
Yeah, any weekday for me.
What was that? Any day?
Any weekdays?
Any weekdays? Oh, we could do weekdays. Yeah, I'm pretty open as far as that goes. As far as what are we cooking, I have no idea because my husband's out there cooking this. So, oh, somebody else said weekday. Okay, Saturday is nice. Send me emails or text. Send me text messages. They're easier. I think all of you have my phone number. Send me text messages and we'll figure out a better time where we can be more consistent. All right, I love you. I see you as light. I see myself as light. You're all amazing. And we will do this again. Thank you.
Bye.